Hello everyone and welcome to another Playerpolis video for board games.
Video
Film of Subterra, a review. Here is Subterra. Thank you very much, Daniel. Subterra is a 1 to 6 person, about 60-minute long cooperative game where you will be exploring trying to escape from a big cave complex. I think this was a Kickstarter?
It was indeed a Kickstarter. It raised over £300,000 when it did its Kickstarter. There's quite a lot of expansions out already, I think probably as a result of that Kickstarter. But this is just a retail-based copy, and that's what we'll be reviewing today. It retails for around... What's the price of that?
$34.99.
$34.99.
It's the official retail price. So yeah, what you'll be doing is you're basically a member of the STEX, Subterranean Exploration Team. You're a bunch of basically scientists, mostly, and a few cavers that are looking for minerals, and you fall down a big hole, you're trapped in the cave, and you've got to escape. You're going to be facing things like natural disasters, like tremors, cave-ins, water problems, like floods, and gas problems.
Like you said, water problems. I really need a wee!
Yeah, like plumbing issues. Gas as well, natural gas, bad for you.
Gas.
Jamie!
Jamie!
Perfect. All that sort of stuff. And you're also going to be chased by monsters, which are sort of these faceless dudes that are going to follow you around the cavern, and if they get you, you die. Lots of different things happening here. So we're going to jump straight into just a really quick breakdown of the mechanics of the game, and some of the rules, and then we will jump into the analysis. But if you want to skip the rules bit, just click here.
Yeah, and here. That's just... you missed it.
So in Subterra, every player starts by picking a character. You then place down a starting tile representing the centre of the cave complex. You'll also shuffle the exit tile towards the bottom of your tile pile, which you'll be drawing from the rest of the game. You will win by eventually drawing the exit tile and making sure no more than 2 of your cavers are left behind. You'll lose if you run out of time to explore, or if all cavers get knocked unconscious. There are 3 main phases in each round of Subterra: the action phase, the horror phase, and the hazard phase. During the action phase, players have 2 action points to spend every turn. They can reveal tiles, move across the map, run to move faster, and they can heal. They can also explore, which lets them move and reveal in a single action, but they must move into the space even if they don't want to. Players can also swim, squeeze through holes, dig rubble, place ropes, and hide from monsters. All of these actions take up 2 action slots. Some actions require players to do a skill check. For this, players simply roll the dice, and if they get a 4 or above, they succeed in the check. During the hazard phase, the team draw from a hazard deck of 5 cards: tremors, floods, gas, cave-ins, and horrors. When these hazard cards run out, you'll not have long left to escape the cave. Floods and cave-ins hurt players in water and rubble tiles, as well as making the way harder for future players who will need to dig and swim their way out of these tiles. Gas instantly hurts players in gas tiles and will continue to hurt anyone moving into a gas tile during that next round. Tremors force every player to make a skill check to not get hurt. And finally, horrors get spawned on horror tiles near to players. Every turn you'll be moving these horrors slowly forward towards the nearest conscious player. If the horror catches you, you lose all of your health. If you run out of health at any time, you'll become unconscious, and unconscious players get no actions and they can only get healed by other players. So those are the basics of a game of Subterra. We're going to jump right now into our main review.
So now we know how to play Subterra, I'm going to ask you straight off the bat, did you feel like you was exploring the depths of a hidden cave?
I'm glad you remembered the word cave at the end. Yes, I did. Obviously everything you're looking at is a cave, and all the tiles look like a cave. But I think the thing that made the theme come across was things like the squeeze tiles, and the way that they do evoke that fear of being in a cave, right? And it's not a fear of mine. I'm not bothered by it. But there are lots of terrible, scary YouTube videos where people get into those cracks and they're stuck in the cracks and they're trying to mimes. They're trying to get out of the crack. And that is what that and the ledges and the ropes and all those little bits reminded me of those videos. And for a game to do that, which isn't heavy on narrative or anything like that, I thought worked really well. Sort of.
Want some rope?
Let me let you show you how a man makes rope.
Which way?
Why did we become cavers?
I'm a geologist.
The artwork's it's perfectly passable. The character sheets themselves are reasonably okay, but it's all just very okay. The caves, they didn't really have any sort of uniqueness to it.
There's no variety at all.
No, so the cave you're drawing is going to look very bland. Certainly at the end of each game when we had quite a lot of tiles out, it just started merging into one blob of mess.
Yeah, a lot of tile placement games we've played recently, once you pull the tiles out, they look amazing, don't they? Like, you could frame, going back to Carcassonne, you could frame that on a wall and it looks good. With this, it looks alright, it's functional. The one nitpick I have on it, which Rebecca kept bringing up when we were playing, it is slightly hard to see the walls. So the walls are black and the movable areas are blue. And obviously that makes it look like a dark cave, which is great, except it also means that you can't always see where the walls are, obviously. It's a tiny thing. But I mean, visually speaking, it's still kind of a pain.
Yeah, if you're opposite side of the table to the main board, it's very easy to not notice where you can go.
Yes, and if you're trying to use the glow-in-the-dark dice that was included and actually play a lower setting for atmosphere, I think you'd struggle to actually see the board, which is a shame.
So you read the rules for this game for us, so you could teach us how to play it. How do you think the rules were, and how easy was it to sort of teach?
They were really good. It's super clear what you do. The setup's really simple because it's a tile placement game. You're not doing a lot. Yeah, I found the rules to be some of the best I've used in the last few months, actually, to get the game running. And running the game with you guys, which I did after reading the rules for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys had nearly any rule questions at all, did
No,
you? I can't actually think of a time where we had to then really go back and look at the rules. We needed to check what the monsters did when we got a monster and how they moved specifically. But beyond that, we were just straight in.
Yeah, I mean, straight away we were playing the game. There wasn't much sort of having to deliberate and work out what to do. You sat down, we were playing the game in 10 minutes, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's always a benefit just being able to jump into a game that isn't too shallow either. And we will talk about that in a second, but one thing I want to talk about, which is related to the rules, is do you think that this is a good gateway game? Like, would you put this up there with all of the other... And I'm afraid you haven't heard me mention this at all. It's on the notes, yeah. But, like, do you think it would be? Like, you own a board game cafe, you should be able to answer this right now.
Okay, do I think it'd be a good gateway game? Absolutely, actually. I didn't think about it as a gateway game until now, because thematically speaking, it doesn't feel like it would be one. A lot of gateway games are a bit more flowers and unicorns than this. But, yeah, it's simple, easy rules. The concept's not hard to get to grips with. The theme plays into the rules as well, which always helps with thematic games. Yeah. You know, in Ticket to Ride, for example, the trains go across the distances. People can understand that concept. Just as you can explore the caves, people understand that concept. And yeah, I think it's actually a great gateway game now I think about it.
Yeah, it's one of the things I was thinking about when I was writing the review stuff for this. Like, the funny thing is, like, exactly what you said, actually. The accessibility, a lot of it comes from the fact that you get it by nature of knowing what a cave is. Like, I was comparing it a lot in my head because it's a £35 game, right? And obviously that might change when you watch this video. It might be cheaper now. But we know board games hold their price generally. Yeah. So it's actually very comparable to what I think Pandemic is 38 or 40 RRP, which obviously you can get a bit cheaper now. And I was thinking about whether or not this was a better gateway game. And I think that it actually is a better gateway game than Pandemic, which is normally held up as the best gateway game, because people then have to understand... the concepts of disease curing and stuff, and it's not as familiar to someone as saying you're trapped in a cave. That's a ledge, and what do you need to get out of the ledge? A rope.
So in the game, there's a lot of times where you have to do a skill check, and the skill check is simply rolling that dice. If it's above 4, you pass. If it isn't, you foul, or as I say, including 4 or above.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6.
It's a really simple mechanic, and I loved how quickly you could just understand how to do it, because it doesn't change depending on character. Bar 1, actually. Yeah. But it doesn't change depending on the tile or the event. A skill check is always that simple, and I think it worked really well.
I mentioned it, didn't I, when we were playing, that I actually thought it streamlines the game in a way that I don't think takes anything away from it. So, classically, I would say, you skill check Dungeons & Dragons style. You skill check against a number on your character. So maybe Daniel's character has higher skill overall, but you only do it on, like, the skill is just to avoid a bad thing happening. There's no specific skills, it's just you roll the dice. And yeah, I thought reading the rules initially, you always have to roll 4, 5 or 6. I was scared that you wouldn't like the game because you have a random chance.
I really hate random chance in games, but I understand it needs to be a mechanic in a lot of games. What I dislike and what this game doesn't have is a sense of you're not in control of the odds. In Subterra, where you decide to take the risk of maybe jumping ahead to get more tiles placed out and explore the cave more, or where you take the risks to stop on a location rather than exerting yourself.
Yeah, so if you
they're
stop
all
on a...
calculated risks because you know the odds are, 4, 5, 6, you're fine. It's a flip of a coin, effectively.
It's a 50-50 chance,
Yeah.
and you're right, you can choose to stop on a gas, or you can choose to not, if you haven't then done the reveal icon. So that reveal thing, which I mentioned in the rules, I specifically mentioned it because you can move into a space.
Yes.
And that is probably the other key mechanic of the game, I think, even though it's quite a minor element, because you have to get through that cave and you have to find the exit at the bottom of those tiles. So you have to continuously explore. You don't have an option to take a breather. But the best way to continuously explore quickly is by moving into a space before you know what's there, which could be fine. It could not be. We definitely were sort of, especially in the first games we played, we were running into it, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we were just hoping for the best. And what we learned very quickly was that you can't survive that way because you only need to run into a gas, have to stop your turn on that gas, and then have a gas hazard be drawn, and then you're dead.
I think in one of our games we actually had a case where we all stopped in cave-in zones and the entire party just got wiped out immediately.
Yes, that's correct. That was the last game we played, where we just rolled. We had a cave-in hazard, and it rolled on a number which killed us all.
Oh dear.
4 or 6? Oh, it's a 4, so everyone gets caved in.
Yeah, we're all dead.
What about me? Am I?
Yeah, you're on a 4.
So we lost the game.
I think it's no. Wait, I protect Jamie from cave-ins, and I don't think. I think that could have easily been your typical co-op game fear of not feeling fair. You draw a card that says, "Oh, you run out of food," and then you're all dead. Which happens a lot. I think the reason that it's less of a bother in Subterra is that it's a short game.
I keep coming back to thinking it is a really good gateway game.
There you go.
It's a type of game you would say to
Someone
someone.
you started this not even thinking about that.
I know. I'm going to end a review with a new insight.
My problem with Subterra, which is not a huge problem, I would recommend this as a gateway game to anyone. And I did say earlier that I think that it's actually a better gateway game than Pandemic, right?
Yes.
But I would also say that I think Subterra has less of a lifespan in its box, in this box, than Pandemic does in its base. And Pandemic has a ton of expansions, but Subterra already has loads as well. We've not played any of them, so I can't comment on how good they are and if they're good value for money. But I would say that I think that this game would get more... It would never be predictable because of the amount of chance that is involved in drawing tiles and rolling the dice. But I think it would get a bit more samey quicker than similar priced cooperative games.
Especially as I think it's the type of game that once you figure out the right strategy to get victories, very quickly you'll use that strategy every time, and the game suddenly does become... I think as you play it too many times, you will start feeling screwed by random chance.
You might do more, yeah. We've played quite a few games of it, and I wouldn't ever say it's solvable, which is I think the term that people use when they're talking about cooperative experiences, especially solo ones, and you can play this solo. I think it probably is, in the sense of like there are ways to play better. But I think that there are also things that you might do that are just fun to do. Like in our games, you were having these moments where you would go off down this ridiculous corridor trying to join the cave back up.
Didn't work well.
Yeah, and just end up dying in a hole, which was hilarious for the rest of us. And I think that's what this game is about. So it's not. I wouldn't call it deep, but it's less shallow than I was scared it was going to be. But where I think the real fun of this is actually, it's just as fun to lose this one. A lot of co-op games, you just, like, you use Pandemic as an example, you can play it for an hour and a half and then lose, and you'll end up thinking damn. When you play this, if you lose, it's normally quite hilarious. We lost moments from the exit. In the very first game we played, we didn't actually play the rules right. What we did was we kept playing after nearly everyone had died, just to see what would happen. And then our last player, who I think was Becky, the next tile she would have drawn was the exit tile.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, and that was really fun, and we didn't have to win to have a good time.
No, it has that element of you feel like you want to beat it each time, and no.
In conclusion,
I'm going to ask you in conclusion, Robert.
Okay.
Would you say Subterra playable as favourite, or
it's not an essential because it is. I don't think for the money, it's deep enough to be a hugely sustainable game without investing in expansions that may or may not be great. It's definitely a favourite for me. You can choose a different thing and then We'll let Jamie,
editor Jamie.
We'll edit in what he thinks as a group. Because
So,
our review's always done.
I am going to say it's playable, it's essential. For me, it ticks every box. There's not many games where I can't say I have lots of nitpicks against. Nitpicks. It's fun, it's easy. I can explain this to anyone very quickly. I think it's great. I think it's really great. I want to play it again. And I always think if I want to play a game again, being we have about access to 800 or so here, it's usually quite a good sign. So, Subterra is a...
Who knows?
Jamie?
You know. We don't know. Thank you very much for watching. Please do the... Subscribing is the best one for us, so we can see if anyone's watching this. But commenting is also good. Don't tell Daniel that he looks like Jack Black.
I don't look like Jack Black, so I meant to say that. I don't...
He's got an identity crisis, so you don't want to fuel that. And also, liking or disliking the video is fine if you dislike it. Why?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Don't do it, man.